Okay, we're going to start section 1.8 with just a warm-up on distance formula. You have the formula there. Just go ahead, turn off the tape, and fill out the work. Okay, welcome back. Now keep in mind this x sub 2 and the x sub 1. This is 7, this is 5, those are my x's. 10 and negative 8 are my y's. This is the 7 from the first point, this is the 5 from the second. Okay, so that's where the subscripts are coming from, but it really doesn't matter so long as you're consistent. If you put 7 first and 5 second, that's fine too. Okay, so as we go through this, 7, 5, 10, negative 8. Now, don't be flipping out one way or another. I could have just written these down as this is the first one, this one is the second one. It'd been fine. It's the same distance. Now you evaluate, okay, the stuff inside, and I get to the square root of 328, which is 18.11. Now, that's the distance between A and B. The midpoint of A and B is found by the average of the x's, the average of the y's. That's what this is. So I'm going to take the average of the x's and the average of the y's and find my final answer. Okay, we're going to do the same thing in B. I want you to do that on your own. Turn off the tape and go ahead and give it a try. Okay, welcome back. You should have been doing with x, and I got 0 and 8. So I put 8 and 0. Notice I did the reverse of what I did up here, so you recognize it really doesn't matter so long as the x's are there, the y's are here. 64 and 16 is 80, so square root of 8.94. Now the midpoint, again, is the average of the x's, average of the y's. Go ahead and get those done if you haven't already. Turn off the tape if you haven't. If you have, here's the solution. 8 and 0, because 8 and x, both 8 and 0 are both x's, 4 and 0 are both y's. Find the average, and that's 4, 2. So that's our midpoint. Today we're looking at the perimeter area of squares, rectangles, triangles, and circles. Perimeter of a polygon is the sum of the lengths of its sides. The area of a polygon is the number of square units inside it. Okay, and the square units are based on the units that we're using, whether it be inches, meters, yards, miles, whatever. Okay, the square, side length, s. Okay, so if I have a perimeter, it's 4 times s. If I have an area, it's s squared. In a triangle, perimeter is going to be a plus b plus c. Sum up the 3 sides. Its area is 1/2 base times height. And that, when we do the area of a triangle, we don't worry about the a and c in this case. Rectangle, perimeter, base times height, length times width, however you want to look at it, times 2, because it's base plus height, base plus height. Area is just base times height. The area it will cover. In a circle, a fancy schmancy way of perimeter of a circle is circumference. That's the distance around the circle. Now remember, in the circle, the distance out from the center is the radius. If we have a chord that goes across the circle that goes through the center, that's called the diameter. It's 2 radiuses, because there's a radius and here's a radius. Circumference goes all the way around. Pi is a ratio of circumference divided by diameter, and that's just natural happening in nature. It's 3.14159, so pi is a ratio of circumference divided by diameter. That's the circumference, 2 pi r, and the area is pi r squared. Please notice how close those are. They're same numbers and symbols, but they're just ordered different. This is 2 times pi times r. This is pi r times r. That's why it's squared. Okay, we're going to find the area of a rectangle with dimensions of 3 feet and 24 inches. Well, 24 inches is the same as 2 feet. And remember, a rectangle, we are looking at a shape that kind of will look like this. So you've got dimensions of 2 feet and 3 feet. And for doing a rectangle, we're going to make the assumption these are right angles. Okay. So as we go through, we got base times height, 3 times 2, 6 feet squared. Okay, find the area of the and circumference. The area, remember, is pi r squared. The circumference is 2 pi r. And I'm just plugging in the value of radius. Remember, all I need is the radius, and I get the area or circumference of the circle. So a lot of people go, oh, I totally did it right, but you have to be aware which formula you're using and what it's going to find for you. That's a vocabulary thing for geometry. So an area, pi r squared, 4 squared, 16 pi, this is considered in terms of pi right here, but if we multiply the pi out, we just round it to the 100th there, and we have 50.27 centimeters squared. Now again, 2 pi r, 4 times 2 times pi, 8 pi centimeters is in terms of pi, but 25.13 centimeters is rounded to the 100th. And when you're doubting when to round and stuff, please just round normally to the nearest penny. That's the second digit past the decimal. It's called the 100th position. Now, find the area and circumference of each circle in terms of pi. Now, remember, as we go through, we're going to be looking at some things, and if you're not sure of some stuff, you can ask questions. But I know it's difficult with the video, and you can drop me an email or talk to me the next day in class. So we have a chord that goes across as the diameter, 16 meters. So half of that is 8, and that's my radius. So my area is pi r squared, which is pi 8 squared, and that's 64 pi. I'm done. This is in terms of pi, because pi isn't multiplied out. Okay. For circumference, now there's two ways of looking at circumference. I can take my radius the way it is, and I go, well, hey, you know, that's 8. R is 8, so I pop that in. It's 2 pi times 8, but it's 16 pi. See, circumference is 2 pi r, or diameter times pi. But still, it's in terms of pi, I got 16 pi. So it's your turn. Go ahead, get her done. Turn off the tape and give it a try. Cutting 15 in half, you got pi times 7.5 squared. This is 56.25 pi, but now as a exact answer, in terms of pi, you generally don't have decimals. So what we're going to do is going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. See if I move this down. We're going to move the decimal 2 places to the right, and that's dividing by 100. You know, as I go through this. So if I move that 2 places to the right and then reduce, I'll have 225 pi over 4 in terms of pi as a fraction. Now that's the expectation in terms of pi. We can do that with your calculator, and if there are questions, you can ask me on Monday or in class on Friday. Now in circumference, again, 2 pi 7 times 7.5, and it comes out to be 15 pi. And since it's in terms of pi and it's an integer, I do not have to worry about making it doing anything fancy with fractions like I did here to put it in terms of pi. Now your book's inconsistent on this rule, so just know that. And as I go through some things, I'll show you some tricks to help you with forming it in the right way for your answer. Now, finding the area and perimeter of the figures below. When we do this, please look at this extra spacing, okay? You got to keep that in mind when we look at that. We got to look at this and this. If we find the area and perimeter of the figures below, I know this is 22, but because this is 4 extra here and 4 extra down here, that's the understanding that it continues, that we actually have a 30-foot length here, and if this is 4, that's 4, and this is 4, this is 24 feet here. So now I got a rectangle. Area is equal to base times height, which I've got 24 times 30. So I've got 720 feet squared for area. Okay. Now in this next one, I've got points here, and it goes up by ones. Notice how I'm checking 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 8. Okay. Now, if I'm going to find perimeter and area on this, I'm just going to go area first. And I did area of my rectangle, so I got to go back there and do perimeter. But as I do area, it's 1/2 base times height. Well, I've got the base is 6. The height is 8. So I'm looking at an area of 24. Let's make that a little better. An area of 24 units squared. Now, the perimeter, I've got to do Pythagorean theorem to find my hypotenuse length. And you guys have done this in the past, where 6 and 8, where 6 and 8 are the legs. 6 squared plus 8 squared is equal to c squared. So this is 36 plus 64. Excuse me, I was going to write 64. So this is 36 plus 64 is equal to c squared. Well, that's going to be 100 is equal to c squared. And I take the square root of both sides, and I find 10 is c. The number that 10 is c. So now my perimeter is equal to 6 plus 8 plus 10. Because what we just found was this was 10. And this is 24 feet. Or units, excuse me, not feet, because we are dealing with just units. So this is 24 units. Here, over here, this perimeter on the rectangle is going to be 2 times length times width. 24 plus 30, which is 108 feet.